Testing.
Are you going to film as well?
Okay, we're on. Welcome back to the Come Join Us podcast channel. I'm very privileged this morning to be with Woman in Power, Martine Solomon, which I've known for the last 8 years, and it's been quite an exceptional journey with us both. It started with 8 years ago with House of Fashion.
Yeah.
So I am going to say it. House of Fashion. We did a women in, what was it?
Women in Finance. Global Women in Finance.
Exactly. And I helped them. I was still a skivvy. I was still very like, just,
Not in the least. I don't even know why you say
Yeah.
that.
And I was just, I think I helped you on that event.
Yeah.
And we had such a joy. I absolutely loved it. And that's, I think, where we connected very well.
Absolutely.
And Martine and myself has been friends since then. And she's been my mentor in some ways a lot as well for what I've been doing today, and I really admire you, and I'm really excited to be here and actually have an intimate chat to you to tell others about your journey.
Yeah,
So Martine, how did it all start? I mean, where did you grow up, and how did you get into the financial sector, everything? Tell us more about you.
All by default.
Okay.
And desperation sometimes.
No, I know.
To be honest with
normally
you.
the best ideas comes out of the most desperate situations, I must say.
So yeah, I think I didn't realize that my entrepreneurial journey obviously started very early in life. As a child, it started with selling newspaper, selling clothing at flea markets, etc., etc., and then ventured obviously into the state-owned enterprise world, where I learned quite a bit and met loads and loads of people. And reached my glass ceiling very, 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 very quickly in the corporate sector. So in 2004, decided to leave the corporate sector and be a stay-at-home mom.
Okay. So you took a bit of a gap year.
Not at all. Maybe a gap 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Because that's how long it lasted. I mean, I just had to take my son to school. I only had the one at that point.
Yeah.
But I had to take him to school and see all the mommies having fruitless conversations in the parking areas and moaning about all the other mommies, just to realize that this is not for me. This is not where I want to be. And then embarked on building a family-owned financial services company that's still in existence today.
Okay.
But soon realized that my passion lied with the people in understanding financial literacy, because the more I was offering product to people, the more I realized that, number one, product was not aligned to the people's needs, and two, people were not understanding, what they need to buy, where they need to go, to understand breaking the financial strain that are on the emerging market.
Yes.
And we can preach, Sybil. I mean, we have to take the responsibility. Everybody looks at government to do stuff. So I started loving financial education.
That's amazing.
And
Which we have a big lack of, especially for women.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, I devoted a lot of my time and pro bono time at that point to educating people around financial education, and just getting them to understand the basic stuff and not having that fear, because as I hate to use this word, previously disadvantaged, but as Black South Africans, there was a big fear around the money element, right? Or the lack thereof, and still is today. And we need to be, in order to break that cycle, we need to empower and educate. And be proactive about it, right? And we can't sit in our little corners anymore. So I loved it until somebody came along and said, listen, Financial Services Charter makes provision for financial education. Go out there and chat to the companies about what you can offer, which we did. And our companies, the youngest company in the group is the Mzansi Financial Education and Media, which is my baby. And we just turned 5 in May of this year, and it's been an amazing 5 years where we've touched hundreds of thousands of lives from a financial services perspective, from a financial inclusion perspective. And we can talk about all these buzzwords, but if we're not on ground doing the work, being with the people, then we're fighting a losing battle. So my focus, is entrepreneurship. My love is entrepreneurship, particularly because of the state of the country. We have to be very, very candid in understanding that our economy is dependent on small businesses. Bottom line. we're not doing enough, Sybil, from a hierarchy perspective. From the top down, we're not doing enough. So we've got to take matters in our own hands, right? So very fortunate to be working with entrepreneurs around the country and in 11 countries in Africa, which is great. And I think our expansion will just be a little bit more from an incubation /
It's nice for networking.
Absolutely.
And helping others from different countries as well.
Absolutely.
Because we always think it's just us.
No.
And it's not just us.
No,
it's all over the world.
Absolutely. Everywhere. And people are struggling everywhere. It's not just here. So, South Africans sometimes can be quite entitled around me, myself, and Irene. And we're just trying to...
Irene. That's funny.
But we're just trying to break that cycle to say, stop now. Let's give you your pride back, and you pay it forward to the next person and the next person and the next person. So that's in a nutshell.
That's solid. That's exactly how it should be. And tell me, what is your main focus now as an individual? I know you've got a few businesses in line and your group, but I know that in your main focus you love education. But what do you really strive for? What's your long-term goal? Where do you want to be?
So we're looking at, our process is very driven to not only financial education, but being a social entrepreneurship hub that deals with all social elements. So women empowerment, kids, coding for kids. So it's all around the education, everything around education, but everything that is happening, that is needed for the future. Right?
So cool.
Just for, because, we can preach future jobs and fourth industrial revolution, etc., etc. But if we don't have the programs in the outlying areas, we're never going to stand a chance to even get there.
It's like a life skill in a way.
Absolutely.
And I look at when I was at school, we didn't have stuff that showed you how to do your taxes.
No.
How to look at how your saving processes is. It's so crucial.
Yeah.
And that's amazing if you are impacting in different ways. That's not a typical school curriculum, which you can't get that from.
No.
And that's incredible.
So we're very diverse in our training platforms. So we've got training programs based for women, which whether you're in a Stokvel, whether whether you need training just to learn how to sew, we've got training programs for that. We teach people how to, make handbags and beads and all of those types of things, just to give them skill and just to be able to, create micro enterprises, because in a macro economy, we also have to focus on the micro element. And if micro element is as simple as somebody just being able to sell a beaded mug that they're making in a rural area online on a platform that somebody in France might want, and being able to put food on their table and put a child through school at the end of the day, right? So it's a very diverse portfolio that we run in terms of training, but it's all socially driven. It's all aligned to our core purpose, which is unlocking potential. And we have, our tagline is, you have to be connected to the crisis in order to be connected to the cause. So you can't be looking at, I want to start a rally to eradicate, female violence against females. But the reason why females sometimes allow themselves to be abused is because they don't know how to get out of the situation, and they're reliant on males in most times. So, we have to be connected to the crisis at the end of the day. So that's why we pride ourselves in being on ground in our communities on a daily basis, throughout the country, throughout the continent, constantly speaking to people on what else can we do, what else do they need in their communities that we can go to corporate South Africa and say, this is what the community needs, please come and have a look.
It brings me to my next question. A lot of women strive to be independent and really strive to, especially financially, right? And if I can ask you one or two things where women can start, anyone, just to start being slowly but surely financially independent, what can they do?
So let me start by saying, your man is not your financial plan. Women
100%.
Women need to take ownership and say, you know what, even if I'm a stay-at-home mom or I'm running the household, I'm still a woman, I'm still independent, and I'm still contributing towards this entire relationship, right? Historically, we've been conditioned that the man looks after the finances, etc., etc.
Yes.
And that's flown through, from generation to generation, and that's still a common thread. So a lot of women don't get involved in financial talks, etc. But you know what, Sybil, we can unpack, and I mean this is a topic that we can sit and talk about for hours. But the responsibility lies with the woman. You need to know that you're worth it. You need to know that you also, whatever you're doing, you're amazing, you're worth it, you're great, you have self-respect, and that will automatically spill over into the relationship, right? And it'll also set the bar for the man to know that in this relationship, irrespective of my wife being a stay-at-home mom or my life partner or whatever, her not contributing financially, she does contribute in other ways. So that's point number one. When anyone starts a financial journey, and this is something that's very close to my heart, we all go on these diets now and then. But before we can even go on a diet, we need to understand, what are we eating that's wrong, right?
Exactly.
What do we eat? What are we putting into our mouths
Exactly.
that's blowing us up, etc., etc.? And the same goes with money. You can't start a money journey if you don't know what you have and what you're spending it on, right?
Totally.
So my advice to anyone is, it takes 21 days to form a habit, right? And I always say, let's hold a money journal, right? For 21 days, I normally, 21 days is fine, but if you can push it for an entire calendar month, then fantastic. So for 30 days, to take a little black book, and we all love a little black book in our bags, and not this time around, not for phone numbers of hot guys, but actually to record the numbers that are going to make you hot one day, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
To actually record your spending. So at the beginning, you're obviously going to take everything that comes in. So it's an income and expense statement, essentially. But very simple. Even if you're giving the car guard R5, you're going to jot down that you've given the car guard R5. If you're buying a Coca-Cola at lunchtime at work, put down that you bought the Coca-Cola. If you're buying a wrap every single day, if you've bought your best friend a 40th birthday present, if you've gone out for drinks, put it down. Put everything down. You have to record absolutely everything. Number one, it psychologically helps you understand exactly what your spending patterns are.
Same as a diet.
Exactly.
You'll see what you're eating, what you shouldn't be eating.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you know what? We, as humans, we are so quick to say, I don't have any spare money to start anywhere or to get rid of my debt, etc. Right? And then to actually be truthful with yourself and do the calculation and say, you know what? I bought 24 Cokes this month. I don't want to change anyone's lifestyle. If you like Coca-Cola, have Coca-Cola, but buy 15 next month, right?
Exactly.
Be more. It helps you to be more conscious about what you're spending and what you actually can save on, and then it becomes an easy.
And you never
process.
know actually how much you can push yourself to save, eh?
Sybil, and it becomes addictive.
I know.
It becomes addictive. Yeah. People don't understand that we all have addictive personalities in some way, shape, or form, right? And I always say, when you see interest, when you see money growing, and you've really, you're just being diligent about it, and you see your money grow, it is an extremely satisfying component, and it drives you to do more and more, and pretty soon you'll realize you start looking at investment opportunities.
Totally.
You've been on the journey.
Exactly how it happened to me.
Exactly.
I didn't have much. I started with a small business. I didn't even barely have enough for my month, but it's exactly what you said. The journal, I forced myself every month, 500 Rand. I put into my Alan Gray account, and it was in a stable fund, whatever. We looked at the different funds. And I promise you, that's still going today, and it's been since the World Cup.
Yeah,
when World Cup was here,
yeah.
I started that. And I've pushed it every year that I can afford. I put more in and put more in. And now today, when you earn and you go on, you don't even realize you actually saving up. And I'm like, oh, you see, I've actually saved this up this far. But you're so right. It's putting it down. It's making that leap. And then yet again, like the diet, it is coming to terms. You are overweight. You have to go on a diet.
Yes.
You have to do this to cull it. Same principle.
Absolutely.
Same thing with money.
Absolutely.
Great. Yeah.
And the moment we face our reality, and you know where you're wanting to go. This is, my mother always said, your current situation is not your end destination.
No.
So if you're going to cry and be in your little pity party for the rest of your life, and you're overweight, you're going to stay overweight for the rest of your life. But if you're going to put action behind it and do research and put the discipline behind it, that's when the game changes.
Totally.
Yeah. But we don't want that,
No.
and especially women. We don't want to hear that we actually need to put the discipline and the action behind
You're
it.
right. You're right.
It's a sore topic.
No.
It's
It's denial. I want to deny everything. Anyways, but listen, I know with the last few weeks that's passed in South Africa, it's been rough. I'm not going to deny it. It's something that's touched me with the whole Am I Next campaign. Martine, if you were president, what would you do? That's what I want to ask you today.
Gosh, Sybil, there's so many things in life that, firstly, I don't even want to talk about the judicial system that's failing South Africa. We really, as government, we really need to look at our judicial system. Are we really, the punishment that goes along with a crime, are we really being fair? Because if you take a life, you should be able to, and we need to look at our judicial system. I was at the Constitutional Court yesterday, and I found myself standing in the courtroom and saying, I pray that, our judicial system would be really looked at, particularly in terms of violence and murder and, all of those types of things, because our country is really, there's no respect between humans at the moment.
No. And
So,
it's a fundamental cultural thing.
absolutely.
And it's between all cultures. Martine.
Absolutely. It's not, you
Between
can't,
everyone.
you can't
Our
single.
whole
You're right.
society.
Yeah.
It's
It's toxic.
safeguard this toxicness.
It's toxic.
I agree.
So here's my take on it, Sybil. And I think, people that know me well, and you know me extremely well, you'll know that I preach the same thing, and I have been preaching the same thing since our democracy in 1994. Now, there's something called the psychology. And the psychology of man is very simple. It's tied in with what's happening around you. Everything you do is divinely orchestrated by your socio-psychology, right? Now, since 1994 and our democracy, yes, we went through truth and reconciliation. I'm so tired of that nonsense, to be very honest with you. Sitting in a courtroom, talking about or standing there saying what you've done wrong. But have we really, where we failed our people is to actually have socio-psychology programs to help people understand that you don't have to live in an amazing house in the northern suburbs of Sandton or wherever. You have to be grateful for what you have right now and start slowly. And it's not instant, because remember what happened was it's like instant
That's the big
oats.
thing.
Right?
Instant.
It's like everything.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks we're eating oats so easy every morning, and we're throwing it into a bowl and just add water and boom. No, it's a process. There is work that needs to be done. There's education that needs to be done. There's socio-psychology elements that needs reversal. All of those things are extremely important in building cohesion amongst communities. And it's like you said, we're not singling out a single community here.
No.
We have to build cohesion to look at World Cup. What happened with World Cup? We all united.
Massive unity.
Why did we not keep that momentum going? We had every opportunity to do it. But we segregated every single point. So my plea to South Africa is, let's look at, just being kind. And yesterday, it was so funny, I had somebody send me an article on emotional intelligence, intellectual intelligence, or emotional quotient, intellectual quotient, which is IQ, and EQ. So if anybody knows me, I keenly look at EQ, because I believe EQ is what helps you be successful in life, because you understand where the next person comes from, you have compassion, you have all of those elements. That is so critically necessary, because essentially EQ is being able to see something from the other person's end, right? No matter what their social circumstances are.
How would they feel?
Correct. And it gives you that sense of respect. I mean,
Totally.
your EQ, I always tell you, your EQ sits right up here. And that's why we connected.
Yeah.
Because I don't connect on IQ. I'm not an IQ. I don't connect on
I've
IQ.
also never been.
I connect on EQ
Yeah.
because EQ is, are we aligned with our morals and our values and all of the things that actually matter?
Yeah, totally.
And
More than IQ,
do
actually, to be
exactly.
honest
And
with
do
you.
we respect each other? Because respect is a fundamental part of EQ. But yesterday somebody sent me an article, and I was so blown away because there's now something called LQ, and it's love quotient.
Oh,
And we don't talk about this because everything is love.
totally. But everything revolves
I'm
around
getting
it.
goosebumps just talking
No,
about it.
totally.
Everything is love. If you love yourself, which is a starting point, and that is what we need to do from a sociopsychology perspective. We need to teach people to truly love themselves, right? And if you love yourself, you can't not
You're
love
right.
anything else.
Completely right.
You can't.
It is, and especially in environments where it's this harshness or hectic murders, hectic rapes, everything. It really draws down to that. You're right. Is that there's so much hate.
Yeah.
There's not enough love.
Absolutely.
How to get and it absolutely starts by loving the person next to you, asking them about them. How was your day?
Yes.
How are you feeling? And just taking 2 words, but not being just in your zone of just me, yet
Absolutely.
again, and just taking a breather and saying, this guy's also going through
Absolutely.
a shitty phase. You know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying?
Totally. And if we can just love thy neighbor, right?
Exactly.
It all comes down to that.
It does actually.
It all comes down to that.
Yeah.
Love thy neighbor.
You know, Martine, our country, I think, has got unbelievably such amazing potential. And I was fortunate enough to go overseas this last month and went to Italy. Amazing country, old heritage, which most of Europe has. But Martine, I'm sorry, I'm going to say it, the wine I did not like. I loved our South African wine. I mean, the product. The food was incredible.
Yeah.
Absolutely, because that's Italy, you know. But even us, we have this incredible fresh produce in South Africa. And making food here as well, and small producers and everything. We are on par with the world, Martine. It's literally what we are doing as South Africans and empowering and helping each other to get there.
Yeah.
That's
I
all it
totally
is.
agree. Sybil.
And perception. The world's perception. And I must say, someone that was European told me and said, you think the world's got a perception of South Africa. The thing is, you think the whole time we've got a bad perception of you.
Wow.
Someone said to me
That's
that was a
comforting.
European.
That's
And I was
comforting.
like, are you serious now, what you're saying here? Because I keep thinking we've got a bad perception for the world. And with what's going on in our crime and everything like that. And she said, no. I personally think you guys must stop thinking that you have such a bad perception, and you need to start being more proactive, being proud of South African.
Again, pride,
So,
love, all of that comes into play, right?
No, completely.
Yeah.
So I think there's such a big scope for us in the world, and I think we can't even with the financial world. Look at credit crunch came a few years ago. Our bank systems were still intact. Where the whole world was crashing down.
Look, we really have good infrastructure in South Africa, Sybil. I mean, you know, I travel the continent quite extensively, and from a perspective of traveling the continent, but there's one thing for me I always have to say. So we might have all the amazing infrastructures and stuff in South Africa, and you know, ons lekker wind gaan.
Yeah.
But the rest of Africa, I mean, or the countries that I've been fortunate to travel to, education has been very high on there.
But that's their winning game.
And I'm telling you, it is comforting. So as South Africa, we need to look at our neighboring countries and invite them, you know, and stop all of what's going on right now. There's xenophobic attacks and all of that, because we're all one continent, and learn from each other, because we can, you know, I walked into a very senior person's office in Nigeria one day, and the first words he uttered to me was, "You're the first black woman to walk into my office from South Africa. And I'm very proud to have you here, because we want to do business with South Africa."
Amazing.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Very senior.
They are very open.
Very open, and we need to be open to our brothers and sisters. And we shouldn't be seeing borders, because we live on an amazing continent. A continent that is feeding the entire globe with resources, yet we fight each other.
And it comes down to one thing again, is love.
Yes, absolutely.
We need to spread more love.
We're hashtagging LQ from now onwards, guys. LQ.
I got it. Before we go, I just want to ask you a 5-pointer quiz.
Oh.
Okay. So what's your favorite holiday spot?
So I'm a bush baby.
Okay.
I love the bush, and I love going off the beaten track. So I don't.
You want to put your phone off?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
Yeah. So if I am able to do my dream for this year as a holiday on my own is to do the gorilla walk in Rwanda.
Oh, but a friend did that recently.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
So that's the type of
Do it.
Yeah.
Do it. Favorite meal?
Woo!
What do you really enjoy? If I would tell you, this is not your last meal ever, what would you eat?
Biltong.
Okay.
Biltong.
Okay, there we go.
Biltong. Maar moet kudu wees.
Yeah, okay. Okay, what's your soft spot? What do you have a really soft spot? It can either be a person, it can either be something that is very close to your heart. Books. What are you a real softie for? Oh, books.
Yeah, books is my... and
you read a lot?
I do read quite a bit. I'm not close to my reading target where I should because I just don't have enough time, but I am getting better at the audio stuff. But I love reading women biographies.
Yeah.
And my favorite one is 491 Days, Winnie Mandela.
Okay, fantastic. Tell us something that very little people know about you.
I love farming.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a farming passion. People don't understand the polished that wants to dig. And
your son's going to study this next year.
Yeah,
hey?
so he's going into agricultural sciences, but alternative farming, which is great. That's the way of the future. And he completely understands that we're not, or he doesn't want to, compete in the commercial farming world, but there is a need for smart farming, particularly because of the state of people going hungry on the continent. So yes, I'd love to retire on a farm one day. Non-commercial though. Yeah. I don't want the pressure of a commercial farm.
Go and sit on it and have a view.
And I want little animals that, I can go and feed every day and just do all of that. Yeah.
Martine, it's been an absolute pleasure
being here. Thank you, Mikey.
Thank you, Mikey, for your dakies.
Well done.
It's always great. And from the Come Join Us channel, we'll see you next time. Cheers.